Now let's see this question. Percentage distribution of players who play 5 different sports. Now they have given us the distribution of the players who are playing 5 different sports. Now 5 different sports are like this: cricket, football, kabaddi, hockey, rugby. Now they have given that total number of players are 800 and the number of female players are 3600, and this particular graph or the pie chart, it is actually containing the information about total number of players, and this particular pie chart is containing the information only about the female players, right? And it is not given how many male players or the distribution of the male players are there. So what we are supposed to do is, in case if the question is about finding out the male players, then from the total players you just subtract it. Okay, now let's see the question. First question is, what is the total number of players, both male and female, who play hockey and kabaddi? Now we are supposed to find out the total number of players who are playing hockey and kabaddi. So this is the chart which is corresponding to the total players. Now we are going to hockey and kabaddi, these two. Now we have to find out what is the total. So if you combine these two, 17% is for kabaddi and 13% is for hockey. If you add these two, it is going to be 17 plus 13 means it is 30, right? So it is 30% of the total number of players is 8000. So 30% of 8000, right? So it is nothing but 30 by 100 into 8000. So it is 2400. So the answer for the first one is 2400. Now let's see the second one. Now the second question is, what is the ratio of the number of female players who play cricket to the number of male players who play football? So now if you observe it, first we are supposed to find out the number of female players who play cricket. So this is the chart which is corresponding to the female players. Now from this you can find out how many female players are playing cricket. It is given that 13% of them are playing cricket. Out of how many? Out of 3600. Therefore, number of female players who are playing cricket is equal to 13% of 13 by 100 of 3600, right? So this one is going to be 468. So this is the female players who are playing cricket. Now we have to find out the male players who are playing football. Now if we have to find out the male players who are playing football, find out how many total players are playing football. From that you subtract the female players who are playing football, then you are going to get how many male players are playing football. Now I want to find out how many total number of players who are playing football, right? So including male and female both. Now if you see this, football is given as 24%, right? So 24%, which means 24 by 100 of total number of students is 8000, right? Total number of players is 8000 here. So this one is going to be 1920, right? But then what we want is male players who are playing football. That is why I have to find out how many female players are there who are playing football. Now that one I can get it from here, right? Female player who are playing football is 40%. Therefore 40% of, I have to find out 40% of total number of female players is 3600, right? So 3600, this one is going to be 1440, right? So now using these two numbers you can find out what is the total number of male players who play football. So the total number of male players who play football is total number of players minus total number of female players who play football, right? So you have to subtract from this number the total number, this one you have to subtract this, right? So 1920 minus this one is going to be 1440 is going to be 480, right? And finally they have asked us for the ratio between these two, right? So female players who are playing cricket to the male players who are playing football. Now the ratio between these two are asked. So it is 468 is to 480. This one is going to be 39 is to 40, right? So this is the answer, option number B. Alright. Now let's see this. What is the difference between the number of male players who play kabaddi and the number of female players who play rugby? So now they are asking us number of male players who play kabaddi. So in order to find it out, you are supposed to find out first what is the total number of players who are playing kabaddi. From that you are supposed to subtract what is the number of female players who are playing kabaddi. Then you are going to get this number. Okay. So let's find this. First thing is, what is the total number of players who are playing kabaddi? So kabaddi is given here. So 17% of the total players are playing kabaddi, which means 17% of total players is 8000 is equal to 1360. So this is the total number of players who are playing kabaddi here, and now we need the total number of female players who are playing kabaddi. So the total number of female players who are playing kabaddi is, it is 10%, right? So 10% of what? 10% of 3600 total female players, right? So this is going to be 360, right? Now using these two numbers, you can find out how many male players are playing kabaddi. So the number of male players who are playing kabaddi is equal to 1360 minus 360, which is 1000. And then we are supposed to find out the number of players who play, female players who play rugby. So in rugby 16% of their 16%, okay, female players, right? So here, so in rugby 15% of the players are playing out of 3600 total female players, right? So the female players who are playing rugby is equal to 15% of 3600. So this is going to be 540. Now we want the difference. So that is what they are asking. What is the difference between number of male players who play kabaddi and the number of female players who play rugby? So therefore, number of male players who play kabaddi is given here, right? And the number of female players who play rugby is given here. Now we are supposed to find out the difference. The difference is 1000 minus 540, so it is going to be 460. Okay. Now let's see this question. What percent less is the number of male players who play rugby than that on the number of female players who play hockey? So now we are supposed to find out how many male players are playing rugby. So in order to find it out, find out what is the total number of players who are playing rugby, and then find out what is the total number of female players who are playing rugby, and you find out the difference. Now in order to find out the total number of players who are playing rugby, it is given here. It is 16% of the total players, which is 8000, right? So the total number of players who are playing rugby is equal to 16% of the total players, which is 8000, right? And now this number turns out to be 1280. And now we have to find out what is the total number of female players who are playing rugby. So the female players who are playing rugby is 15% of the total female players. That is why 15 by 100, 15% of the total female players. So total female players is 3600. So if you write 3600, it is going to be 540, right? And using these two, we can find out what is the total number of male players who are playing rugby. It is nothing but a difference between these two. So it is going to be 740. And then we have to find out the number of female players who play hockey. So the female players are given here, and the number of female players who play hockey is 22% here, right? So the number of female players who play hockey is equal to 22% of the total number of female players. So total number of female players given is 3600, right? So this number is going to be 792, right? And now if you see the question, what percent less? So they are asking us what percent less is the number of male players who play rugby, which means this number, male players who play rugby. Then, so after then it is given that then the number of female players who play hockey. So female players is given here. So they are asking us the difference. How much is this number less than this number, right? So how can you write it? It is 792 minus 740 divided by 792 into 100. Now if you compute it, it is going to be 6.56%, right? So while discussing about the percentages topic, we have seen how to write this. Alright, so now after than, it is given that the number of female players who play hockey. That is why in the denominator we are taking the number of female players who play hockey, and now this number represents what is the difference, how much less it is, and then we can find out the percentage. So this topic we have discussed in percentages. You can refer to that, how I written that. Okay, now let's see this question. The number of male players who play cricket is approximately what percent more than the total number of players who play football? So now we are supposed to find out the male players who play cricket. So for that we are supposed to find out total number of players who play cricket, and then we are supposed to find out the total number of female players who play cricket. Now if you find out the difference, it is going to give us what is the total number of male players who play cricket. Okay, first let's find out what is the total number of players who play cricket. So the total number of players who play cricket is 30% of the total players. Therefore it is going to be 30 by 100 into total players is 8,000, right? So you are going to get 2,400. And the next one is, what is the female players who play cricket? The female players who play cricket is 13% of the total players, right? Therefore it is going to be 13 by 100 into total female players. So total female players is 3,600, so it is 468. Now the difference between these two is going to give us the total number of male players who are playing cricket. So it is 1932, the difference between these two numbers. And now we have to find out what is the percent. Okay, we found out the male players who play cricket, and now we have to find out what is the total number of players who play football. So the total number of players who play football is given here, 24% of total players, right? So the total players who play football is 24%, which means 24 by 100 into total players, which is 8,000. So this number is going to be 1920. So now they are asking us the number of male players who play cricket is approximately what percent more than. So if you observe this, more than that of the number of players who play football. So since after than the number of players who play football is given in the denominator, football number should be there, right? Therefore the total number of players who play football should be in the denominator, because after than it appeared. And now we have to find out the difference here. So 1932 minus 1920, that is what they are asking, right? So the number of male players who play cricket is approximately what percent more. That is why I am writing this number minus this number into 100. So now you are going to get it as 0.625%, right? In the answers, the closest answer is 0.6. The actual answer is 0.625, but the closest one is 0.6%, so you can go with that. Okay.
Hi, if you are planning to do masters, then doing masters abroad is better than doing masters in India. I'll give you all the reasons. So, first reason is, out of 1 lakh students who take GATE every year, there are only 500 seats in old IITs. So all the IITs put together have an acceptance rate of 0.5%, and IITs, universities better than IITs, they have very good acceptance rate like 30%, 40%, but all the IITs put together have an acceptance rate of 0.5%. And if you are working hard to get into IIT Bombay's ranking is 177 and IIT Roorkey's ranking is 400. If you are happy to get into IIT Roorkey, then getting into universities better than IIT Roorkey is easier compared to getting into IIT Roorkey. And looking at the salaries for computer science, for software jobs, if you have done your masters in computer science in US, the salaries are ranging from 80 lakhs per year to 1.2 crore per year. So even if you take an average of 1 crore per year, your savings will be much higher than the salaries in India. after taxes and your cost of living, you can easily save 40 to 50 lakhs per year. And in India, the maximum jobs that you get is around 30 lakhs. So your savings will be much greater than the salaries in India. And these are all the services that we provide. University shortlisting. So depending on your profile, we will shortlist what are the universities that you have to apply, and statement of purpose building, and then LOR guidance, and GRE and English test assistance, and education loan assistance. So you don't have to have any collateral, which means without any security, now you can get education loan. Getting education loan is very simple these days, and whatever the amount of fee that you have a range of universities. You can apply for 10 lakh universities, 20 lakh universities, or 50 lakh universities. But whatever it is, you are going to get complete education loan, and you can pay off your education loan in 1 year after you get a job. And then we do visa assistance, mock visa interviews, and then connecting with the university alumni. So now you might ask why we should join Game of Visas. So the answer is we have 90% success rate, 99% success rate. And these are all the destinations that we guide the students to. So we guide students to any country that you want to go. So now it is not just USA. We guide to UK, Germany, Australia, Canada. So we guide students to all the countries. We work with all the destinations. And if you are interested in going abroad, you have to just drop us a message on this WhatsApp number 9494 555 454. Okay, thank you.